see that?
Lightning and the thunder.
Lightning and the thunder. What's that from? Is that like Imagine Dragons?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Apartment 6 podcast. I'm Jess.
And I'm Marissa.
Leaping into our roses and thorns of the week.
Leaping.
Marissa, what is your thorn?
My thorn this week is that this was the worst work week ever. Do you think the people can hear what's going on above us or no?
I don't think so, because they couldn't hear the fan last time.
If by any chance you do hear any like rustling above us or rustling period, it could either be the fact that it's thundering outside or the fact that our upstairs neighbors move stuff around a lot and make a lot of noise.
It's true. They really are champion movers over there. Up there.
Anyway, my thorn, yes, is that this work week sucked. And I think this was my thorn last week too.
Your thorn was that you were in the busiest season of work. Not specifically that the work week was bad, although this one was bad.
Yeah, I feel like last week it was like, my thorn is that I'm not looking forward to being busy at work. And this week I'm like, my thorn is that I'm busy at work. And I don't like it.
Truly.
Yeah, I just like, I worked late every day. I worked from like 8:30 to like 6 or 7 every day. And I'm in a period of work where it doesn't feel like I can do anything quickly enough. Like all the deadlines are approaching and all these different people are asking me for things that I just can't physically do in time to please everybody. So it's kind of like a losing game to try to like meet all these deadlines. We have like so many confusing hoops to jump through to like set up a project and work on a project. Like I wish things were simpler. There's a lot of like unnecessary tasks that need to be done. So that's what makes me the most frustrated. Like it's like if I didn't have to do all this like data, like back end record keeping kind of stuff, then the actual work, like my actual job that I'm good at, would be a lot easier to do. But there's just like so many like hoops to jump through. But yeah, that's my thorn. It was not a good week at work and probably won't be a good week this week either. But
the pessimism is pouring out of her.
I know, I'm just so tired. But these few weeks definitely will be the toughest. So like by like August, I will be out of the weeds. So
it'll go by fast.
Yeah. Just got to get through it. What is or was your thorn this week?
My thorn is that I spent way too much money in the month of June. Like I decided last night, this is something I've wanted to do for a while, but finally like took the time to sit down and do, because I always wanted to create my own backtrack. I always wanted to create my own budget sheet in like Excel or something, because I'm wary of using apps for my budgeting, because I don't like the idea of something like knowing, well, I guess I use an app for like Bank of America, but I looked into like Mint, and I had some people tell me like that they are a little bit like wary of Mint, like they're not too sure that's like a good idea. And I don't know, I'm wary of that too. So I last night looked into it like on YouTube and found this tutorial that shows you just like how to make a monthly budget using Google Sheets. And turns out Google has like a template already. So I decided like I'm going to go forward with this for July to track my money. But I decided to like, as sort of an experiment, go back through like all of my receipts basically from June and see like what I spent. And a girl was living. A girl was like, I think I spent a little more than I made. And it's like, Girl.
But you're including like life expenses too, right?
Yeah. It's my rent, it's my student loans, it's like our electric.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, like, it's not like she's like bopping around buying like millions of clothing items. Like, it's real life stuff too.
Right. It's our Wi-Fi. It's the money that we each put towards this podcast, which isn't a lot, but it's there. Actually, I forgot. I penciled in your half too for what I made like this is like my planned expense for the and I include the podcast and I put the total amount instead of just my half. So yay, I get to save a little bit. It's like barely anything. But yeah, I had like this, I felt really down on myself last night about it. I even texted my mom and was like, I must be stopped. And she was like, oh no, because finances are not something that I feel like either of my parents are particularly savvy about either. And so I was like, what have you done to me? Like, I don't know. I've just been wild. I feel like I wilded out in June. And for a while I was doing okay. And that's going to carry over with me into July because, you know, some of that went on my credit card. For a while I've been putting my groceries on my credit card specifically because I didn't want to, like, get any extra germs from using the debit machine, like punching in my code. I don't know if that's, like, stupid, but that's something I was just doing.
No, fair.
And I'm gonna pay for it in July, literally. So yeah, I'm just kind of mad at myself and feeling sort of like, I don't know, just like, I was telling my dad like how much I have in my savings the other day, and he was like, I'm really proud of you for that. He was like, that's like really great, like considering how much you have to spend on like your life expenses and how much you make, like I think that's great. And I was like, it's not enough. Like after like working full time for over a year, I'm like, I don't feel like I have enough to show for it. And that bothers me. So that's my thorn, because I just like really, like this last week in particular, that was on my mind a lot. What's your rose?
My rose is that yesterday I went to get coffee with our friend Maddie, and we went to this place called Jaho that we all love Jaho.
Love Jaho. We need to do a podcast episode of our favorite places in Boston. That it would be one of them, I would say.
Yeah. They, spoiler alert for if we ever talk about it again, but like the way they do their ice in their ice drinks is like no other.
Well, it's what's it called?
Crushed. It's like little
crushed ice
pieces.
It's
instead
like
of like
Sonic
ice cubes.
I think that's like what like Sonic uses, so that's like how people refer to it.
It's delicious.
You can get ice machines to make it like that. And you know what? I actually saw something the other day where you could buy a tray to make it like that.
Interesting.
I think it was a tray. There was some sort of device that helped you make that kind of ice at home.
It's 2020.
And I was like, Jessica, you don't need that. This is what I'm talking about, you guys. Hold me accountable.
Unless.
Hold me accountable. Don't let me spend any more money. Sorry, go on.
So I went to Jaho with Maddie, and the location that we went to had records on the wall, just like a lot of old records, some that we recognized, some that we didn't. And so when we were leaving the coffee shop, Maddie said, go pick out a record from the wall that we haven't heard, and we'll listen to it on the way home and see what it sounds like.
Oh, that's so cute.
It was so cute. But so we picked one, and the band was called the Chi Lights, if you have any interest. It was CHI-LITES, and I don't think we were able to find the album that was on the wall, but we listened to a different one, and it was hilarious unexpectedly. Like, we expected just like to bop around to this like old like soulful music. We were like the instruments kicked in and we were like, okay, this is groovy, like this is cool. But then the lyrics, each song that we would listen to had crazier and crazier lyrics.
Like dark?
Kind of like dark humor. So like, I'll give you an example. There's a song they have called Marriage License.
Okay.
And the chorus of the song has the lyrics, I wish that a marriage license was just like a driver's license that expired every 2 years.
Damn.
Which isn't true of a driver's license, at least not here, but that's what the lyrics were.
Maybe, well, was this like a while ago? I don't know.
Yes, it was like the 70s. But we just the song began with like the lyrics were like, I was granted one wish, I had this one wish of what I would want, like what would I wish for, and the wish was that a marriage license expired.
You know what's really easy though? Just not getting married.
I know. Well, there was another song before it that was about like going to the court and getting freedom, and we were like, did this person like commit a crime and they were like deemed innocent? Or and then like the lyrics of that song went on, it was like, oh, they went to court to get a divorce and that's why they had freedom.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
like this is like their breakup anthem album.
Yes, it was wackadoodle, but we laughed really hard about it and it was very fun, and I would highly recommend it as an activity.
Did you genuinely like the album? Like, do you mean like listening to that album or like doing that? Like
that activity, like random ass album that you've never heard and just like put it on, see what happens. Yeah, it honestly, like, it sounded good. Like it was just like good soulful 70s music.
I can so vividly picture you and Maddie doing this too. And the thing is, like, Maddie is the perfect person to do this with because she's got this like electric energy that like when she laughs at something, she like if I'm the reason she's laughing, it makes me want to make her laugh more. Mm-hmm. And if I'm laughing with her at a situation, we can just like totally let go. She's got this amazing fun and funny energy, and so I just love that was like what you guys did. That's so cute.
It was very fun. What is your rose?
So my rose is that, and this kind of was a thorn that I just didn't feel like mentioning last week because it wasn't for sure, but my dog Penny, she is 14, she'll be 15 in October 7th to be exact, and she has had like a hacking cough for the last like month or so that sort of comes and goes. It's not like all day every day, and has just been slowing down a little bit. She had a UTI a couple months ago. She's just sort of like she just got diagnosed with arthritis and her arthritis.
Okay, Boston.
Arthritis.
Yeah.
Is that what I said?
Yes.
Arthritis? Is that what it is?
I mean, technically, but
okay. Well,
your Boston is showing
arthritis. So, yeah, she's just like been showing signs of older age, but Yorkies can live for a while, so it's kind of like not like 14 is definitely old, but that's kind of, it's typical for Yorkies to live that long. And basically, her vet told my mom that she thought Penny had congestive heart failure, which sounds really bad because it kind of is. And like my last dog had it, and it caused like a slow decline in him. And so Penny had to go to a cardiologist, and she doesn't have it. And so that's really great because my mom was telling me that the cardiologist was saying that if Penny had had congestive heart failure, she would only live for another year to year and a half, which, she's old and that might be the case anyway. But this just sort of puts it on the table that she's not automatically like
limited.
She doesn't have like an automatic like death date or like I would be surprised if she lives longer than this date. So they think that the hacking cough might have something to do with like her trachea, which also isn't great. And if she's uncomfortable, then that's something my family will have to talk about. But it's just really great that she doesn't have like this incurable illness. So that's my thorn, that my little baby is doing okay.
Your rose.
I mean, my rose. Oh my God, I've done that a couple of times and you've caught me. Thank you.
I know. Well, I'm sure people would assume, but definitely not a thorn that she's doing okay.
No, my rose of the freaking month is that my family dog is doing well. And my mom sent me the cutest photo of her today, and she just looks like the cutest little mystical creature. I love her. That's it.
Should we get on into our voice memo of the week?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I picked this week, which means that I picked a voice memo that Jess sent. And I tried to find something kind of related to what I thought we might talk about today. So here it is.
Do we have a date?
Oop. It must be in here. Oh, it's no.
Okay. That's fine. Maybe I'll know based on what it is.
Maybe. Well, you were talking about. I didn't clip that exact part, but there was a part in it that you were talking about finding a birthday gift for Jen.
Okay.
So it was around her birthday.
Okay. So it was probably September 2018.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely 2018. Okay. Here we go.
Would like my take on, because I think it's fun. I know my mom likes me to pick out makeup for her. I actually recently, she just needed a whole refresh of makeup. There was certain things powders she'd been using for years.
Exposed.
And she had a couple of eyeshadow quads that I know that she's had since I was in fucking middle school or high school, way too long. And
sorry, Mom.
So I took her Target card with her permission, of course, and bought her all new makeup. And it was so fun, and she was so excited about it. I bought her a new beauty sponge from Real Techniques. I just bought her a new eyeliner, the same one that she already used. I bought her favorite mascara, her Revlon Colorstay foundation. Oh, I keep forgetting that you chose this related to what we're talking about today. Yes, that makes sense. That's so cute. I do remember this, and she still needs to probably replace that stuff. My mom doesn't, I feel like these days she doesn't wear a ton of makeup because she's in New Hampshire, and not going out as much. She used to be going to work, and wearing it every day. And she still always puts it on if she's going out, even if it's just to run a few errands, she might do something, or to go out to dinner or whatever. But yeah, I know all of her little favorite things, and I got her some brushes, and I got her a couple of eyeshadow quads from Wet n Wild, because everyone says that they're so good. And they have these really nice color stories. So I got her ones that matched what her old color stories were, but from Maybelline that she needed to replace. And I got her so that's something I often do for in her stocking for Christmas, is I get her her favorite beauty products refreshed. And then she also likes the Real Techniques sponges just like I do. So one day I bought a quad of them and gave her 2, and I kept 2. And I love makeup.
Yeah, I chose that voice memo because you can really hear in your voice how much fun it was for you to do that for your mom.
Yeah, I loved it.
How excited you were I've got her sponge and I got her eyeshadow. You were so excited to.
Well, especially talking to you, because you get it.
Yeah.
So I can haul makeup for you.
Mm-hmm.
I also so Jen, our friend Jen, just got married, and Jen and I had powwowed a couple of times in the last year or so, talking about wedding makeup, and what setting spray would be best against the heat, because she got married in June. And she was talking about maybe doing her own makeup, and then she was actually, I'm gonna get a makeup artist, and then in the end had to do it because of quarantine and whatnot. And so she would come to me, and we would chat about just different products she was getting. And I always love that. I love when friends ask okay, here's what I'm looking for. I have this type of skin, and I usually like it to look like this, or feel like this. What would you recommend? And I can sort of piece together a good little regimen for them. I think it's so fun.
Yeah. And I don't think we haven't said yet what our topic is today, but from the title, you know that it's hobbies and things that we are interested in and that are fun for us. So I think we'll get into that kind of stuff a little later on, but I thought this was a great one to just show how fun it is to talk about makeup and look at makeup and pick it out and kind of recommend it to other people and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah. So jumping into our topic today, because makeup is like a shared hobby of me and Marissa, so we're going to get to that at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to start our like hobby podcast, which is sort of inspired by a podcast that we both like to listen to called Sierra Unfiltered, and it's with Sierra Schultze and Skylar Pollitt. They're on YouTube. We both watch the podcast on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And they had like a hobby cast, and
Mm-hmm.
we just like thought it was cute and like a fun way to just like talk about things that you're into. And also, like, for me, hobbies are, I feel a little like insecure about
Mm-hmm.
it, because I feel like growing up I had so many hobbies. You know, I started playing soccer when I was in first grade, so I was 6, and I started doing dance, I think younger than that, I think preschool. And then, you know, I played a season of basketball here, a season of softball there. I eventually went on from doing town soccer to travel soccer. I started doing theater in middle school. I started playing the violin in 5th grade. I started a cappella in you know, what is it, high school. And then in college, it's like I was on a college magazine, and journalism was like a hobby of mine, and also like a future career. And I still did a cappella, and I worked on a news show. So I had all these things that I could be like, here is what I do. And like when I am not in school, here is what I'm doing. And then when I graduated, I felt like, oh, like I just go to work and then I like come home and I like watch copious amounts of YouTube and I cuddle my dog and I talk to my mom and I go for walks and I drive and I listen to my own playlist. And I was sort of like, oh, I don't have anything that I like recreationally like do like from scheduled time to scheduled time. And I started feeling really insecure about it because it coincided with a breakup that I had. And so I was starting to go back on dating apps and realized like, oh shit, I used to feel like really confident when I was describing myself. I used to feel like I had all of these things that made me who I was. And, you know, student was just like what I was full time, and it was all the other things that made me interesting. And then I started to feel like after I graduated, the most interesting thing about me was my job. And so I was like, oh, this is weird. And the other night, I was sitting and talking to Marissa and Maddie, and I was saying, like, when people ask you your hobbies, what do you say? Do you just like say like things that you're interested in, or do you say things that you specifically like set out and do? And so that's also another reason why we decided rather to do this podcast this week, because it's a conversation that we literally had the other night.
Yeah, I think that you have made me think about the semantics of like hobbies versus interests versus like extracurriculars versus like fun things to do.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause my answer to that question when we were talking was that I lump all of those terms into the same definition. Like if someone were to ask me what my hobbies are or my interests are or what I like to do for fun, I would have the same answers for everything. And I actually just looked up the Merriam-Webster definition of a hobby just because I thought it would be interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
And I think the sentence examples are funny too. So the definition is a pursuit outside one's regular occupation, engaged in especially for relaxation.
Oh.
I thought the relaxation part was really interesting because that kind of contradicts what you were saying.
Yeah.
Because that kind of makes it sound like it's not like a scheduled obligation. It's like something you're doing to wind down. So the examples are, 1, writing is just a hobby of his. So the just is interesting because that makes the word hobby seem like, oh, it's just like this thing he does on the side.
Yeah.
And the second one is her hobbies include gardening and bird watching.
Oh.
Which those are interesting too, because those I would think that you would consider those more of like the interest side of things.
Gardening, I would say, is a full-on hobby. Like I think of gardening as a hobby, but bird watching, I would say, is, well, it kind of is a hobby because a lot of, like, if you're really into bird watching, you can like get books on it and like tools to like help you. Like I used to have like a bird calling thing. This is really random. But
as someone who hates birds, I don't stand for any of that.
But that can also be like a very passive activity. So that's true.
Well, so, okay, what if you were Merriam-Webster, what would your definition of a hobby be?
Oh gosh, I have to like self-edit as I say this.
Versus,
I want like a good definition.
Well, you could do like a definition for hobby and a definition for interest, if you feel like they're different things.
Okay, I feel like an interest is a topic that you pursue because I was going to say because you're interested in it, but a topic that you pursue to gain more knowledge on or to, I don't like, yeah, to take pleasure in, I guess.
Topic meaning like it's broader. Is that what you're thinking? Whereas maybe a hobby would be something more specific within a topic.
I feel like a hobby is something that you physically go do. And
okay.
you actively do it. Like it's not like, oh, I'm like, okay, so I'm going to end up getting into my hobbies if I talk about it.
Yeah.
But like, let's say I'm interested in dogs.
Yeah.
And dogs are something I like. And so I sometimes watch dog content or whatever. But I don't even have a dog. And I don't do anything with dogs. Like, well, I do have a dog, but it's my family dog. Like, I feel like a hobby would be like I'm a dog walker on the side. I actively go out and engage with the thing that is my hobby. Whereas an interest is just like, oh, I just like dogs. And like, I have a pair of like socks with dogs on them because I think dogs are cute. Mm-hmm. And I like can name some of the breeds when I see them on the street. That's the difference, I guess, for me.
Yeah. Is
actively pursuing it in like a very physical, engaging way versus just like getting to being familiar with a topic.
Do you think that it has to be validated by other people to be a hobby? Like, does it have to be like you're in a club with other people?
That's what I think I'm grappling with now because I'm not in any clubs. I don't do anything that like I clock in for. Other people aren't like holding me accountable to do the hobby. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think there's some element of accountability there that like, you know, when I was playing violin, it's like I actively had not only my violin classes and a stand partner and music I had to learn and be brushed up on, but I had gigs. And same thing with a cappella. I had to actively learn something. I had to be here for rehearsals. I had to go to the gigs to be part of it. With soccer, it's the same thing. You show up to your practices. You show up to your games. You actively work on those skills. It's something you enjoy. Whereas like an interest, I feel like would be like watching soccer on TV because you enjoy the game of soccer, but you don't play soccer. It's like, is it a hobby to watch soccer? Maybe. I don't know. But that's sort of what I'm grappling with is like there's some ounce of like accountability for me when it comes to hobbies.
That makes sense. I think that there are some... I think that it's kind of like... What is the math thing or like geometry thing where it's like all...
Can I just... Look at my
ew.
I full on chipped my nail polish off my toe.
The way that you were holding your toe just now, though, like your big toe totally separate from the rest of them, really freaked me out.
Like this?
Yes.
Look at that. I just realized I just looked down and my nail polish completely chipped off my toe. Like my toenail is still there. Don't worry.
You know how people say...
I don't know why that made me laugh so hard.
You know how people say... well, people don't say it. This is like a legitimate mathematical fact, but isn't it like all squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares?
The other way around. All rectangles are squares.
Of course, it's the other way around.
All squares are rectangles.
What I'm getting at is like, I think that all hobbies come from an interest, but not all interests can be a hobby.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
But I feel like if you do happen to have an interest that falls into the category of not being able to like do it in a club or do it outside the home or whatever, you can call it a hobby because it's not possible to do those kinds of things anyway.
Yeah.
So like I'm thinking of like plants.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was one of the examples in the Hobbycast that we just talked about that one of the girls on the podcast, Skylar, listed as a hobby. She said, I like plants. And that's like, yeah, technically you could, I guess, join some kind of like plant
club.
Well, I'm thinking of like indoor plants specifically.
Well, I think with her though, she like propagate. Is that what propagate?
Propagation. Yes, but I do feel like there are a fair amount of people who would say like, yeah, I'm really into plants. Like if you ask them what their hobbies are, they would say I'm into plants.
Yeah.
Like that's not one that's on my list, but like I would say I'm a person who's into plants. I have like 10 plants in my room. But like I don't think there's a way for me to be held accountable for that.
Yeah.
So I think it's safe to call that a hobby. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I totally get what you're saying. And in a way, you are actively engaging with it because you have plants in your room and you like to buy plants. And
yeah, I guess it is still different than like if I just liked to like.
Well, no, I guess
look at pictures of plants or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no. I don't know. I think you're right. Like I've gotten really caught up in the semantics of what hobby means versus what interest means. And so but the point of me saying all this is just that I have felt in the last like year pretty insecure about my life because I'm like, oh, journalism and writing is no longer a hobby of mine. It's my job. So it took away that identity. And then, which is great. Now I get paid to do one of my hobbies. Amazing. That's like the goal. But then, you know, a cappella got taken away because I graduated. And so it's like, well, I sing, but I don't actively learn music. I'm not trying to, I never warm up. I'm not trying to be a singer or a choral performer or anything. And so I'm like, what do I do with this now? And like, what do I say when people are like, so what do you do for fun? I'm like, don't ask me.
I just wonder if maybe your perspective would shift a little if instead of thinking about it for fun, you thought about it as for relaxation. Because that's apparently what the Webster definition of a hobby is.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Like I would never have thought of the word relaxation because I agree that like when you think of a hobby, I don't necessarily think you have to be held accountable, but I do think it's like an action. Like it's a doing. It's something you're doing, not something you're like thinking or feeling.
And I think that's something I need to change about the way I see it. Is like that's what I'm saying is like I feel like it's something that I'm supposed to be held accountable for doing.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make me feel good. Like my
that doesn't allow you to relax.
Right. The standard that I've set for myself doesn't make me feel good. So I should change the standard.
Use the Webster standard.
So let me ask you something.
Okay.
Do you have a hobby that you're embarrassed about? I'm thinking of something in my mind that we both like to do that's like I'm not going to say on a dating app. Like, yes, I do this. Like my big thing is that I love to do this. Because I think
I don't know. The fact that you're thinking of something specific is making me like try.
It's not something to be embarrassed about. It's something everyone does. But it's like
something everyone does.
I could also just tell you. I don't know why.
I don't know. Just tell me.
But I just wanted to see if you had anything that you're embarrassed about, or that you don't actively like count, even though it's something you do a lot.
I don't think I do.
Okay.
I have weird like habits, but not weird like hobbies or interests.
Yeah. Well, so I'm thinking about like shopping.
Oh,
so, like
okay.
I love shopping. I love going out and shopping.
Mm-hmm.
But like. I'm never like if someone's like, so what do you do for fun? I'm like, shopping. Like they're gonna be like, okay, I'm scared that you're gonna spend all my money or something. Like or like they're gonna be like, wow, how shallow. Or
I think that for us, it's all the elements of shopping that are deeper than just the buying stuff.
Yeah, like I love a good hunt.
Yeah, like we like to have a mission, like a certain item that we're like really looking to find something we love, and we're like going to different stores and trying on different things and like hunting for it. We also love like you know, getting up, throwing on some athleisure and like grabbing a coffee and like going together and having it be like an activity that we share.
We love the experience. We love the stimulation of it.
Yeah.
The hunt.
And those are all things that are like, it's too much to explain on a dating app.
Yeah, like it just feels like I would feel embarrassed telling someone like, I like to shop.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, well, I mean, I do, but you guys, that needs to stop because I need to stop.
Speaking of
so
the money thing.
Yeah, well, and it feels shallow, especially because like consumerism is rampant. And I also just feel like I get home and I'm so excited about it. And then I am excited like when I wear it or when I play with it or when I don't buy toys. I don't know, when I use it or whatever. But then like the excitement, like you're just always on to the next thing. Mm-hmm. So it's so hard. But yeah, I was just curious. I think that's the only thing that I'm like, that I like I feel like I do a lot that I like wouldn't necessarily be like my number one hobby. Like I wouldn't, well, it also isn't my number one hobby, I don't think. But it's not something that I would like list, even though I actively engage in it too often. Yeah. I also feel like there's an element of hobbies that's supposed to be fulfilling. Like I would swap relaxation for fulfillment. Because I guess you could say that like soccer is like a stress reliever, or it's something that like you burn off a lot of steam, and like it could be relaxing on the other end of it. But while you're playing soccer, I don't think you're relaxed. At least you really shouldn't be. Yeah. So I almost feel like, but it was really fulfilling for me. To be part of a team. And
I like the word fulfilling because it encompasses a lot.
Yeah, and I think plants, I don't think plants are necessarily relaxing, but they're really fulfilling. It's fulfilling to feel like you take care of something, to watch something grow, to have greenery around you. Like those things can be really fulfilling to your heart and to your home. Yeah. And I guess it could be relaxing to
they are them. They're like therapeutic to look at. Yeah. Like it's relaxing to have greenery, but it's not necessarily relaxing to like go out and buy a plant. Yeah.
Certainly not when you buy it from Home Depot and it dies within a month.
R.I.P. to our palm tree.
Should we get into what our hobbies are then?
Yes, we shall.
So our first one that we have listed is a joint hobby, which is music. And at some point we'd like to do a podcast all about music, and we have an idea of how we want to format that I think is going to be really fun. Maybe we should do that next week, but we need to like put some...
We need to actually,
effort into it. Yeah. Not that we don't put effort into our other podcasts, but our idea, like we need to like actually sit down and think about it. But music, yeah. So do you want to explain your relationship with music?
Yeah, so I think that our relationships with music are pretty similar, but our hobbies within music, I would say like I have a couple of different ones.
You have more. I have the same ones as you, and then you also have other things like in addition to.
Well, so I would say like both of us have a really strong relationship with music, and we always have. We like to joke about how we would have been friends in like middle school because we both have notebooks with these like really corny song lyrics that we would write.
You guys, I didn't have any love life, so I used to write lyrics based on my friends' love lives. Yeah. I have like full on songs written about other people's relationships.
I love it. Yeah, so we both like channel emotions into music, I would say. Mm-hmm. And vice versa, we also use music to channel emotion. And I think you too, have like a Spotify playlist for every mood, every season. So I would say like the act of creating Spotify playlists, I would consider that a hobby because it's like an action item. Like you're making something, you're turning nothing into something. Yeah, love a good, well curated Spotify playlist. I've said I don't know if I've ever said it out loud, but I've said this in my journal before that a really fun job for me would be to be hired to create playlists for establishments.
You've said this to me because I remember I one time asked you, like, if money wasn't a factor, like what would you do with your career? And you gave me a couple of different things, but I know one of them was like you would want something to do with like music curation, either for like a film or like a coffee shop, or like you would be hired to curate a certain feeling through music. The same way that designers come in and design a space.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it would be the equivalent of like if a coffee shop was looking for art for its walls and hired someone and said, we want our mood to be warm and cozy and we want texture and we want it to be organic and all this kind of stuff, and then the person chose art. I would want that job, but for a playlist.
Yeah.
Like I would want somebody to say like, I want walking into this coffee shop to feel like a cozy rainy day, and I'd be like, okay, awesome, here we go.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we both really enjoy making playlists and then listening to them when we're like in those different moods.
Mm-hmm.
I also play guitar, which we've talked about my origin story of playing guitar before. I learned in late middle school. And yeah, I don't play as much as I'd like to, and I haven't like advanced since like high school, because I was self-taught and then I took lessons, and then I stopped lessons when I was like, well, I've learned everything that I want to know, because all I wanted to do was accompany myself while I sang.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to be able to strum and play chords and do some finger picking and stuff like that. So once I could do that, I was like, okay, I don't need to be like Axl Rose. Like I can just be me strumming away. So yeah, I haven't advanced in that, but I still enjoy it a lot. And similarly with songwriting, it's something that I have always loved to do, but don't do as much as I would like to do. And then lastly, I would say I've gotten into vinyl more. I've had a record player for a couple of years, but I think that being home all the time now gives me a lot more opportunities to listen to records.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool to love an album enough that you want it on vinyl, like you want it in that special way. And that means that you love it enough that you know it's worth it to have, because it's like vinyl's pretty expensive.
Yeah.
And when you put it on, that's what you're listening to. Like it's not like Spotify where you can like get bored of a song and skip it.
That's what I was going to say, is like it's a non-skippable thing. So like it's you saying I love every single song enough to listen to it.
Yeah.
And it's filled.
Yeah.
in
its entirety.
Full form, yeah. In its entirety. There's okay.
That's
oh my gosh.
That's my favorite part of buying records and listening to records, because it's made me think about music on an album level instead of a song level, which is cool.
Yeah, I felt that way about, I had the Miley Cyrus Bangers CD, and I remember thinking, now this tells a complete story, which actually it does.
Yeah.
There is a very complete start to end there, but yeah, it's a really fun song called Do My Thang. There's a lot of gems on that.
Oh, Miley.
But yeah, I had like certain CDs, so I'm like, it's interesting. I'm like, what would I actually go buy on vinyl? Probably not Bangers, but
it's a cool way to think about just your taste in music, I guess. Like a lot of people ask, who are your favorite artists? But I don't think a lot of people ask, what are your favorite albums?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my list of like music related hobbies. What do you want to say about music? I just feel like I talked a lot.
No, you're all good. Yeah, my relationship with music, I have always sang. I feel like now is the appropriate time, 45 minutes into this and episode 9, to mention that when I was 12, I tried to audition for some sort of Miley Cyrus related thing where you were going to be able to sing with her or something. And I did so many takes with my best friend in the backyard of me singing that. And that's one of my earliest memories of being like, I am a good singer. Like, I like literally thought that I like was amazing, and then quickly realized I wasn't. But around that age, like 11, 12, like music and singing was my jam. And I played the violin in an orchestra through my school, so I also learned a lot of like classical music. And I always had aspirations of playing the piano and guitar, none of which I play, neither of which.
We tried a little bit.
I have to get back into it. I stopped. And yeah, and then I started doing theater, and I always tended to get like vocal parts in shows. Like I never really got like leads or anything, but I would get like solo opportunities. So I sort of had that validation that I had a decent voice. And I also considered myself a songwriter at the time. I had a binder. I also have we were recently at my mom's house, and I showed Marissa like a stack of these like purple star little note pages that were all like random like things that I jot down. But I also had like some completed songs. Oh
Huge.
my gosh, did you guys just hear that ginormous clap of thunder?
Huge thunder.
Holy poop.
Wow.
But yeah, so I always was a songwriter, and I think that for me now as an adult, that has translated into, I write like kind of poetry. I write like one-liners, or I write things that I one time described it to Marissa as it's almost like I'm writing a song, but I'm not finishing it. Like these are all like, I write lines that could be part of a song, could be part of a poem, could be the poem in and of itself. I have like a whole notes app, or an app in, or I already have, I have a whole page in my notes. Oh my gosh, gotta slow down. That's called like My Poetry. That's sort of just like what I've called it, but it's like from years of just like writing things down. And I think that comes from my enjoyment with songwriting. I also am a big Spotify curation person, love making playlists. Yeah, obviously we both did a cappella, but music has always been very important to me. And I love just like going for walks and listening to my music and really daydreaming and putting myself in the mind of an artist. I love like dissecting lyrics. I'm just like, I'll get like obsessed with like certain little melodies or rhythms. I love it. I like eat that crap up. And that's one of the things that I feel like Marissa and I really bonded over, was just like how much we both really enjoyed music. In a way that I feel like some people don't. A lot of people do, but like to me, I'm never listening to music in like a surface level way. I'm always like truly listening, not just hearing.
Yeah. I also feel like my life revolves around music. Like I'm always thinking about like what I want to be listening to.
Yeah.
Or like if I haven't heard something yet, something I want to try listening to.
Yeah.
I just had a thought and I completely forgot it. Oh, I was just going to say like we're both people who will like wake up and be excited about what we're going to eat.
Yeah, wait, where's
And I feel like I feel the same way about music. Like I wake up and I'm excited about it every single day.
Yeah.
I'm excited about music.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Yeah.
It's like nourishment.
I love going into Spotify. Like also because I love podcasts. Like I love like being told stories, and that's actually something that I'm about to get to.
Well, so yeah, I think.
But storytelling is a huge thing for me, and for me, like what better way to tell a story than through music?
I think that's a great segue into your hobby.
Yeah, so my other hobby is true crime. Like everyone in my family, like my immediate family being mom, dad, brother, we all love true crime. Like we all had, like, growing up, we had Investigation Discovery on all the time, Forensic Files. There's a funny show on there called Southern Fried Homicide. Just like Dateline. I love, like, one of my favorite things is just like going home and watching Dateline with my mom. I love, what's his name? Well, if you watch Dateline, you know who I'm talking about. It's the narrator of Dateline. And I love his voice. And I love listening to podcasts. My favorite podcast ever is Crime Junkie, partially because the two women behind it are Ashley and Britt. They're just so great, and I think they're funny. I think they make really great choices about what to include. They can be really topical, so they make sure to highlight violence against the LGBTQIA plus community during Pride Month to bring awareness to it. They've done the same thing with Black Lives Matter, and highlighting people from marginalized communities that maybe have cases that you didn't hear of because the mainstream media didn't pick it up. And I just think that they have a really good moral compass when it comes to delivering this type of sad information and news. And I think they do it with grace and in a very informative way. And I have a lot of respect for people who are able to sit down and tell the stories of people who are no longer around to tell their own story. And it's just something I've always been interested in. I've also always been someone who loves like horror and mystery. And so I think it's part of it is like I enjoy the feeling of like getting chills and feeling like, what? Like, how could that happen? I like a mystery. I like a puzzle. I've always been like this. I literally love to do like jigsaw puzzles, like physically solving puzzles. I love to be told stories. Like when my mom has told me about like some local things that have happened, I like eat it up. Like I'm like, no way. And like, you knew the person, and like, oh, it's so interesting to me. And I think anytime that I'm able to be told a story, that's like my favorite kind of thing. I love to watch like on YouTube, like storytime YouTubers. I love to listen to storytelling podcasts. And usually I love for it to be nonfiction. I would love to hear about like real people and what was really going on and have to piece the puzzle together and whatnot.
You saying the word nonfiction is a good segue.
Yes.
Into my hobby. This is blending so well. My next hobby is reading. But this, I would say, is probably the hobby I'm the most insecure about, because I was a literature major in school, and there were constantly people who made me feel like I didn't read enough. Like they would always talk about like who their favorite authors were and all the books they'd read. And
that's how I feel now with our friend group, except I just like own it and make it like a funny thing. Like I'm like, you guys, I'm illiterate. I can't read.
But like it's different when you're like in the same class with these people, because you're all like seeking the same thing.
Yeah.
But they're telling you that they deserve it more, like, basically.
Who's more worthy of your degree?
Exactly. Yeah. So I still have some like insecurity with that, and feeling like I'm not well read enough. But on the flip side of you liking nonfiction, I love fiction. Mm-hmm. I love just like really getting into a story, getting into a character. When I read Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine, I like fell in love. That's like one of my favorite books. I just love when I can like relate to a character either from my own perspective, or the author does such a good job of building the character that you get familiar with how their brain works. Mm-hmm. Like it's really cool to like see the world through different perspectives through books. I recently started reading Murakami, which has been really fun for me, because one of my insecurities is people often ask like, who are your favorite authors? And I never have an answer, because I always just like individual books. Like I've never loved an author so much that I'm like, I'm going to read all their books. But when I read Murakami, that's how I felt about him. So that's something I'm really excited about, because maybe I can give him as an answer when I'm asked that question now. But yeah, I'm someone who always has a book on my nightstand. And I love going to bookstores. I love writing Goodreads reviews, like all those little things that go with reading. And just like the feeling of a book in my hands, like
Marissa even sat in on my work's book club.
I did.
We read Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine, and she had already read it, and I borrowed her copy to read it. And this was like during quarantine, so it was like I was just going to be home and logging into a Google Hangout anyway. So I was like, Marissa, you should come.
I was like,
she did.
Oh yeah, I will. Yeah, I love talking about books that I've read. And I also, this is like tangential to reading, but I also do similar things to what Jess described with writing. So I also like will occasionally write little snippets of poetry, or I really like journaling. So I think that writing and reading kind of go hand in hand like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just such a nice, cozy, like going to a bookstore is so cozy, and curling up with a book is so cozy. It's just very like comforting.
I always love when I'm into a book, like right now,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm reading Gone Girl. I've already seen the movie a couple times, but Maddie and Marissa have recommended that I read it, and I'm down, so I am, and I'm really enjoying it, and it's like I keep getting excited to go back and read more, and I love when I'm in that place of the book. My trouble is just that it's just starting the book.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I don't read a lot. It's like once I'm reading, I enjoy it.
Yeah.
But
I'm never somebody who writes in books. Like I don't really know why, but I never had the inkling to like underline things or write notes in books. But there have been a lot of books recommended along with the Black Lives Matter movement, and I'm currently reading So You Want to Talk About Race, and it's the first book that I've ever grabbed a pen and took notes in and like underlined stuff. And that's been a really cool way to interact with the book, because it really makes it feel like a conversation between me and the author. Like there were certain passages where I wrote like, wow.
Oh my gosh, you're like giving great.
Like,
you know how there's that thing about how women love to give affirmations throughout a conversation.
Yeah.
So we'll nod our head, or we'll say, yeah. It's like you doing that while reading. It's
She's
like
never gonna see that I said good point, but
right.
like
But
it
it's
felt
you.
good.
It's exactly what you said. It's another way for you to interact with something you already enjoy. So it's like you like highlighting something or whatever is
Mm-hmm.
you giving that affirmation. Like,
That's
ooh,
so
this
true.
really resonated with me.
Yeah.
That's cute.
So I think there's one more thing that we wanted to touch on that we both enjoy, which is like the beauty skincare YouTube kind of world.
Yeah.
And we've mentioned that our interest in music bonded us, but I think that this is also something that really bonded us.
Which is super funny to me because I don't know why it's funny to me. Like I guess it's just like because I don't feel like a lot of people around us necessarily feel that. I mean, we all like our friends, like they all wear makeup and they all enjoy makeup. But I feel like we, at the time, the people that were like around us when we were really deep into our obsession, like Marissa and I used to like go to the Macy's counter near our we used to go into Macy's and go to like the beauty counters and like
just play.
We just used to play. Like we just loved it. We used to talk about it for hours on end. We talk about everything we're using, and people around us at the time I feel like didn't really do that. We just happened. I don't know how we found each other. Because you're like the only person in my life who I feel like watches some of the same YouTubers as me.
Yeah.
We like really found our own little niche. And there's actually, in a journalism class, I took this class called Interactive News. I think that's what it was called. Where I had to create a website and we had to like be like the authoritative source for the website and like come up with articles and whatever. And it could be anything we wanted. The idea really was to get us comfortable with like online journalism and whatnot. And I was like, can I do mine on makeup and write like reviews and write like informational stuff and like take all my own photos of it? And my professor was like, yeah, that sounds kind of cool. Like, because originally I was going to do coffee shops. I was going to do like a whole review website of coffee shops around Boston, and then realized like a sis ain't got time. So like I changed it halfway through and was like, you know what I'm really good at? Learning about makeup. And I have like certain brands that I have a lot of products from the one brand kind of thing. So I did that, and I remember I like interviewed Marissa we had to have like an audio component to the site, and I interviewed Marissa for it. And I did the same thing for another class, a marketing class. I had to like pretend to be a beauty YouTuber because we had to do like some sort of immersive like,
it's like subgroup, I think. I also took the same class. Yeah.
And so then like for that class, I had done like a YouTube video. And so I put that as like my video component on my journalism thing. Like I basically I curated my year, my like school curriculum to this obsession of mine, which is now kind of my job.
Yeah. That's pretty wackadoodle.
Yeah. Testing products and writing about makeup and skincare. And I've learned a lot.
I do think it's interesting though that some of the people that we watch that used to solely do like makeup and skincare videos are now adding different types of content in, more like they say lifestyle on YouTube. So they're talking about like food and just other fashion. Yeah, like other parts of life beyond makeup. And I think that's interesting because we've kind of done that too.
Yeah, it really coincided with our own interests shifting.
Yeah, like we still kind of, I think, pride ourselves on being people that others can go to for like recommendations and knowledge with like skincare and makeup stuff. But we're not like, our hobby of choice isn't like going to Macy's every weekend to play with makeup anymore.
I don't even know why Macy's, except that Macy's happened to have like a lot of. They had a lot of like they even had like Inglot shadows, which is something that I never got to see.
I remember the specific.
I know
day
exactly what you're gonna say.
You wanted to find a contour shade that was perfect for your skin tone.
Don't do that.
So Inglot is like, they have all these like single shadows that you can like make into a palette. So
they're like big pans too. They're like big rectangle pans.
Jess was like trying every single shade in the range of her skin tone.
Because listen, you don't need to buy an actual contour shade or an actual. Like, it's all just powder, so you can put eyeshadow on your face if it matches. But for whatever reason, I was on one back then. I was like, I can't find a concealer shade white enough for me. My skin is too light. And, like, I don't know. I was, like, trying to melt things down to make my perfect shade. And then, like, with the Inglot thing, I ended up buying, like, a gray eyeshadow because I was like, I am so pale and cool toned that the only way that it'll look. I was trying to, like, achieve that, like, Kardashian effect or something. And you know what? I think the problem is my face is too fat. I don't think I can truly contour my face.
No.
Not in the way, like, it's still going to look like makeup. I was like, no. If I want it to be, like, really seamless, I need it to be, like, ash gray because I'm so pale. And I bought, like, this, like, grayish brown, like, very, like, true, like, taupe eyeshadow from Inglot. And it was like, girl.
But at the time it was like, yay, we did it.
We thought we won. Yeah. And I remember like I bought like a MAC foundation, my first like MAC product. You had triangle eyebrows. And we like went through the process of figuring out your eyebrows together.
We won that though.
We won that.
Just got my eyebrows done yesterday. They look great.
They do look great. Do you remember we went to like the Benefit Brow?
Yep.
Brow.
I literally did have triangle eyebrows.
And the lady just goes, well, first you need to stop touching your eyebrows. And oh my gosh, we used to have like such specific things that we like would go out we would set off to find. you even like were having issues with your contour palette. You didn't like your Too Faced cocoa powder. And I remember like I tried so many times to get you to get rid of it, because I was like, Marissa, you don't use it, blah blah. You were like, no, I need it, I spent so much money on it. Like, we just were so funny about like makeup. And then I feel like we moved into skincare. It was very like, ooh, have you tried like such and such from like Glossier, and like
the charcoal
like the
peel off mask.
Yeah, like we were very into trying skincare, and then we sort of moved into like a balance where we like both makeup and skincare, but we're not like obsessive about either one.
Yeah.
And we're more into like other things in our life.
Which, yeah, I would say like is really nice and shows how much we've grown, because like at the time, as you can tell from like just trying to find like a specific shade to like change her face shape, like at the time we had a lot of insecurities and we used makeup to feel better about them, but I think the fact that now we are not so crazed about makeup shows that we've grown a lot and we've accepted a lot of things about ourselves, which is really nice.
Yeah, I would say we're more into like clothes now.
That's true.
I feel like we get more
and like
excited.
Accessories.
Yeah, I feel like we get more excited about like the earrings that we bought from such and such place, or like you got like a ring from like a local shop and I was like, oh my gosh, I love that so much, I need it. And like we both have like the same t-shirt from freaking Aerie that we like love and like wear all the time. Like I feel like we're more like excited about those types of things when it comes to like the lifestyle sphere.
Yeah.
And food, we get really excited about like recipes now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now that we have our own apartment that we enjoy. I'm always shading our old apartment.
I mean,
but I
rightfully so. It deserves to be shaded.
Yeah, we've gotten into like more like home decor, like Marissa talked about her macrame and like just like things like that. We've gotten more into like our space.
Yeah.
Oh, the times. The times.
Yeah, I just think all of these things show that we have kind of worked on being like well-rounded humans.
Yeah, you're doing your conclusion thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say we have grown a lot. Our interests have changed. How we interact with our interests has changed. Obviously, you guys know that we met in an a cappella group singing, and now singing is something that we kind of just like do in the private of our own bedrooms. And like Marissa still plays your guitar, and I feel like the most you sing now is like when you're playing your guitar too, which is the opposite of a cappella. Yeah, and true. I feel like the most I engage with music is through my playlists, and I've definitely learned about a lot of new artists and like grown my music palette since those times. My makeup collection has shrunk for the better. I've learned to let go of things and let go of ideas.
Yeah, I think when you're young, you're just kind of like casting a wide net. Like, what's going to interest me? What am I going to like?
As Taylor Swift once said, when you're young, you just run, but you come back to what you need.
Oh, God.
Sorry. I just thought of that. Because as soon as you said, what? I don't remember what you said. Okay.
I said when you're young, you cast a wide net and you're just looking for something to bounce back and like validate you and make you feel good. You're like, I'll try this, I'll try this, I'll try this. Oh, so-and-so's into this. Let me do this with them. Yeah. But the older you get, the more you're able to, like we just kind of did, nail down the exact things that give you fulfillment, which full circle, going back to the beginning, I still think that fulfillment is a really good word to describe a hobby.
Yeah, and I also think like fulfillment over like trends. Like I feel like we're not as easily influenced by trends. We're able to sort of be like, yeah, but maybe like that's what some like a lot of other people are into right now, but I know that I wouldn't love that for you know, if it's like makeup, it's like for my face shape, or like for the amount of time I have in the morning, or if it's clothing, it's like for my body shape, which reminds me of like our episode talking about body confidence. And with music, it's like I remember like forcing myself to listen to certain things that like didn't resonate with me because I knew that the band was like cool, and I felt like I didn't listen to any cool music, and I just don't care about that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
As much.
That's
I'm not
growing
perfect,
up. Yeah, I mean, we're still in our 20s. Like we're not wise old women yet, but like I think the older we get, the wiser we get.
Yeah.
And it's good.
This has been so fun.
I know. This is a really fun thing to talk about.
Yeah, I feel like we only scratched the surface.
I know.
I feel like this was we've been talking for over an hour, but it's like, what did we even say? Talked about our hobbies, but like, there's so much.
Yeah, there's so much
that we geek out on.
Yeah.
But
well,
we don't want to have a 2-hour-long podcast. We're trying to keep this at least a little bit palatable for you guys. So with that, we'll bid adieu, or as I like to sometimes say, m'lady.
No! No.
Inside joke. I'll leave it alone for
as
now.
You like to sometimes say, or as I like to sometimes say?
As you like to sometimes say.
Yep,
m'lady.
It's true.
Outro music, go!
Bye, guys.